Welcome to Community Matters. Now we're on. Welcome to Community Matters. This is Becky Steinbruner. I'm honored to be your host for the next 2 hours. And my apologies for a bit of a rocky start here at the beginning. Things were a little unusual in the studio, so here we are. Welcome. I would like to first off thank and recognize Satellite Workspace and Digital Media Center, who is where our studio is located, 325 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz. That is between the Ocean Street exit, Ocean Street and the San Lorenzo River. And my apologies, I'm a little distracted here because the keyboard is different than what I am used to saying, so my apologies. Yes, here we go. So, if you are looking for a space where you want to do some remote work, it's clean, it's quiet, it's very safe here, and very convenient, especially if you're in the Santa Cruz City proper area. It is, we share this space with community television, another great gem in our community. So look it up, Community Satellite Workspace and Digital Media Center here at 325 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz. So today, I think you're really going to find it interesting, our program. At 2:30, Monterey County Supervisor Glenn Church will be calling in. And he is the county supervisor from Monterey County in the area where Moss Landing, the Vistra fire happened, and he has been a tireless advocate for the people. And I'm honored that he's going to be able to join us at 2:30 today, calling in, and we're hoping to talk with him about the cleanup work underway at the Vistra Battery site in Moss Landing. And I welcome your calls between now and then as well. What I want to talk about in this first half hour before Supervisor Church calls in is the battery energy fiasco. It is ongoing. What is happening in Santa Cruz County regarding the draft battery energy storage system BESS Ordinance, actions that have happened regarding that are really quite stunning. And maybe a little bit about what happened at the Santa Cruz County Commission on the Environment, their third of 3 public information workshops on this topic, the grid-scale battery energy storage piece. The second hour, beginning at a little bit after 3, after the recorded news break, I will have as in-guest studio here Felton Fire Chief Isaac Blum and 2 board members from the Felton Fire Protection District Board. And that's going to be very good discussion about what is happening in Felton Fire. The Santa Cruz County local agency formation, known as LAFCO, the director of that, Mr. Joe Serrano, issued a 240-page report on Felton Fire governance options and gave Felton Fire Board a deadline of October 6th to make up their mind what they're going to do, or else. He claims he will, but for those who know LAFCO law, he cannot force them. But they are moving to respond, and that is a good thing. So that will be our second hour, talking about Felton Fire, the future of Felton Fire, and especially if you're up in that area, the San Lorenzo Valley, I'd love to hear from you. You can join the conversation by calling 831-265-5050. So that's kind of what we're going to be up to today. And again, 2nd District County Supervisor Glenn Church will be calling in to the studio at 2:30. So I would like to talk a little bit about what happened at the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors meeting Tuesday. It was quite interesting. There was on the consent agenda an item number 38, I think it was, that was a letter by Chairman of the Boards, Felipe Hernandez from the 4th District, recommending that the board delay considering the county's BESS, and this stands for Battery Energy Storage System. These are the big grid-scale battery storage systems that are in the news, that burned up in Moss Landing, although it was a different configuration, a big open building there. Here, what is proposed for Santa Cruz County in 3 sites is just hundreds of metal cargo containers filled with lithium batteries that are prone to explosion and fire. There is one of these 3 that is projects that is in the permitting process, and that is at 90 Minto Road in Watsonville, and that is gaining interest and awareness by the people who are immediately next to the project. They were not notified at all, and it is Supervisor Felipe Hernandez's area. He has been pretty absent from meetings. No supervisors have held any town hall meetings regarding these battery energy storage systems, or the fact that the county is moving forward for an ordinance to allow and how to regulate them in terms of space requirements, things like that. So I mentioned the one of the 3, 90 Minto Road, is in permit process. There are 2 other sites that are proposed by this draft ordinance that was approved in concept by the county supervisors on October 29th of last year. I urge you to go look for that recording on the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors website, October 29th of 2024, and watch what happened there. You will be quite interested, I think, to see what transpired. And then what happened really was that changed it all. It was the horrible, horrible fire in Moss Landing on January 16th of this year that really put these types of facilities on people's radar and recognized fully that they are dangerous, they are hazardous, and so people, rightly so, do not want them in their backyards, and I for one feel they should be in no one's backyard. If lithium is the component of the battery energy technology, there are many other kinds of non-lithium, non-flammable battery technologies, and we should be using those, not the hazardous lithium. So what the Board of Supervisors did this last Tuesday was they kicked the can down the road for a full year. And that was the action of Supervisor Justin Cummings that proposed that rather than just postpone it until November 18th, as Supervisor Hernandez's letter had asked, Supervisor Cummings said, we don't know what the outcome of the Vistra Fire investigation will be. And it will take us some time to develop regulations in our ordinance to safeguard against those kinds of failures. The 2 of the reasons Supervisor Hernandez said it should be delayed is because the Commission on the Environment, this meeting that just happened, the 3rd of 3, this last Wednesday, had not completed their evaluation yet, and he wanted to give them more time to, as an advisory group, to respond to all that they had learned in their 3 workshops. And then the 3rd one was that he was hanging his hat on Senator Laird's bill that is not yet signed into law, may not be signed into law, and that's SB 283. So he was hanging his request for a delay on those three issues. And Supervisor Cummings said, well, even if Senator Laird's bill does get signed by the governor, it will not go into effect until the beginning of January of 2026. We will need some time to figure out how that will be implemented, so we need a year. And that was quite amazing to me. And it makes me very, very worried. And here's why. In the city of Nipomo, that is in southern San Luis Obispo County, a similar sized battery energy storage system, BESS, grid scale facility was proposed, and permit application in filed, and the county, San Luis Obispo County, has no draft ordinance, has no BESS ordinance either. They're working on it. Everybody's working on it, but nobody has one finalized yet. At least not that I have found. Maybe Supervisor Church will have more information about that for us when he calls in at 2:30 today. But in the absence of an ordinance to stop it in Nipomo, Nipomo's project was passed by the Planning Commission and the Fire Department. This is the same level of approval that happened with the Vistra Moss Landing 300 project that burned catastrophically. It was approved at that level. And that's because, as is now still the case, there's no ordinance or law to stop it or to regulate it further. The state fire codes are not yet in place. When they do come in next year, there will be more stringent requirements, but they're not in place yet. So I am worried that we in Santa Cruz County could have a repeat of what the poor people of Nipomo have been saddled with in terms of a project approval at a very low level of government with very little public oversight, or probably maybe one meeting. And if the one meeting is noticed as poorly as the one meeting that the developer at 90 Minto Road did, sending out postcards to very, very few people. I mean, even the people who live next door to this site did not receive notification of a meeting last December. And I saw the postcard. It had no time on it. No time given of the meeting. So we could have that very same thing happen here, and I'm very worried. So think about this a bit, and think of questions you want to ask Supervisor Church, because I think they're in the same boat, likely, with the Holman BESS Clearway project in Monterey County, where Central Coast Community Energy, our local 3CE aggregate power provider, has financially backed that project. And there's a lot of money behind it now. So think about that, and what questions you would want to ask Supervisor Glenn Church when he calls in at 2:30. The other thing that happened, I alluded to a little bit, was the commission, the Santa Cruz County Commission on the Environment, their third of 3 informational meetings. Workshops, and they have been supposedly to inform the commission and the public. Many people feel these have not been balanced, and I completely agree with that. Inviting an industry lobbyist as calling it an impartial presenter is hardly balanced. And the excellent work that Mr. Ed Mitchell, the lead investigator from Never Again Moss Landing, who has been my guest here a couple of weeks ago, the information that he has gathered and wants to present to this commission is rejected. The Commission on the Environment will not allow any public presentations. The commission would not allow certain presenters that some of us wanted or suggested from Sandia National Laboratories, who had presented excellent information to the California Energy Commission on non-lithium battery technology and where all of it is. And the commission would not allow that. So where all this is now is the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors is waiting to hear from the Commission on the Environment about what they think and what they have learned. And the commission lead, Mr. Chris Damhorst, was adamant that they are not going to make recommendations. They're just going to distill what the presenters have, what they have learned, which, they had something like that available at the meeting, and it is also on the Commission on the Environment's website for the meeting that happened just August 20th, this last Wednesday. But the commissioner chair, Mr. Damhorst, read through all of those. He had made gone to a lot of work to make a slide deck presentation about that. One of their main speakers had canceled out, so Mr. Damhorst read an article from Michael Peiss, a battery specialist who had been interviewed by Lookout Santa Cruz. So he read that article. Many of us felt that was not a very impartial representation at all. And then Mr. Damhorst presented the slide deck of the distillation of his own interpretation of the slides and information that had been presented in the other two informational sessions, one of which was really problematic. The first one was a specialist from Stanford University, and that man just threw acronyms all over the place and gave no sources of information, no documentation at all. It was really quite disturbing, but that's what the information that's coming from now in this distillation to the Board of Supervisors from the Commission on the Environment. Now, I really want to ask you to go back and listen to my program from last week, and in which I had the honor of interviewing two really impartial people on this. Dr. Michael Hogan from the California Arts and Science Institute, who talked about an event on October 8th that his group is putting together to impartially present information about the impacts of the January 2025 Moss Landing Vistra Battery Fire, talking about the toxic effects on the soil due to the heavy metals, talking about the toxic effects on the water, the wildlife, the people, and what we can do to move forward, what we can do to learn from this and not just hide it under the rug. Dr. Michael Hogan was on the call last week, and what also was a treat was to have Mr. John Hassar from Invinity. It's a company in the Bay Area, San Francisco. He spoke at the second Commission on the Environment workshop about non-lithium battery energy storage, and really asked some excellent questions. and made several good points. He was on my program here last week, and I urge you to listen to that, because these sorts of non-flammable battery energy storage projects are already in place, many of them in Southern California, and there is no reason why we are not adopting technology like that instead of the hazardous, flammable, explosive lithium iron phosphate batteries in metal storage cargo containers. I have looked at the risk assessment that the 90 Minto Road developers have filed with the county planning department, and it states right there that explosions are such a great risk. There can be no people staffing the site at 90 Minto Road, and due to the explosions and also the toxic off-gassing from these containers, they cannot, it is too risky to have people there at the site. And firefighters should not, if they respond, should not get closer than 100 feet from the site because of the explosions, and the metal doors could become projectiles. So why are we putting this in our neighborhoods? Why are we putting this anywhere at all? That's the question. So that's the Commission on the Environment, and I really wanted to thank Mr. Hassar for calling in this last Wednesday and asking that the Commission also distill the public comment, because there has been a lot of public comment. I think I've been to all three of these workshops, and I think one person one time stood up in favor of it, and this person, same person, this last time phoned in and just expressed general alarm about the challenges of climate change in general. And we have no time to waste, no time to wait for any other alternatives. But I really disagree with that. That's my personal opinion. But I wanted to thank Mr. Hassar for recommending that, and I want to thank Commissioner John Hunt on the Commission of the Environment for asking that that happen. So we can look forward to having a distillation of not only the public, the information that the so-called impartial lobbyists have presented to the Commission over the last 3 months, but also the public. It will be interesting to see how that all comes out. And meanwhile, the Board of Supervisors plans to take no action until possibly August of 2026, end of August of 2026. So what is that going to do now to the status of this 90 Minto Road project? Well, the developers have invested a lot of money, haven't they? They have done reports. They have spent a lot of money on a consultant, Dudak Consultants, making their own definitions of county planning terms. I will tell you that, having seen some Public Records Act information. And essentially steering the boat the way they want it to go. And I've been assured this is not uncommon, that when something like this happens, a project developer may work in tandem with the planning department to craft necessary rules and regulations to complement is the word I heard. I will say to drive the bus is what I think it is. So there we have it. So what's to keep our planning department from saying, okay, this application looks complete to me, and it will go to the Planning Commission, who will wring their hands and say our hands are tied, and our fire officials are sadly not going to stand up and really do what they can, what they are legally able to do in more additive restrictive, some people say, additive requirements for public safety, fire safety. They will not. I do not have confidence in that happening in the county of Santa Cruz because of the politics. Because of the politics. So keep your eye on this ball. Write your supervisor. Insist on a town hall meeting regarding these grid-scale battery energy storage projects. We are being told that not to worry, it's only the Minto Road. They're not really thinking about doing the one on Freedom Boulevard in Aptos next to the high school. They're not really thinking about doing the one in Santa Cruz on Paul Sweet Road, immediately adjacent to Dominican Hospital. No, well, if that's the case, why are they keeping them on the table as part of this ordinance, as part of this zoning change? And why is the county willing to accept the DUDEC developer's definition of what viable farmland is, determining that this productive apple orchard in Watsonville is non-productive farmland and it will be of no loss? That goes against our county's Measure J ordinance passed by voters to preserve our agricultural land. Why would the county accept DUDEC and the Seahawk Energy Storage developers' ideas and determinations on this project? And of course, the developer could always just go to the California Energy Commission. I talked about that a little bit last week too, and if that happens, then the Energy Commission can determine the project is complete and has 270 days to make a determination and completely bypass the local jurisdiction. So, did Supervisor Cummings do us a favor by postponing the ordinance discussion by a year? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Anyway, that's my thought, and we'll be having Supervisor Church call in. This may be him, and I invite you all to please stay listening and call in if there is time. And I really want to thank you for your attention to this battery energy storage issue. It is a huge problem in our community, and it bothers me so much that the Santa Cruz County supervisors are not talking about it, are not holding town hall meetings, and we have got to make them do so. It is their responsibility to keep us all informed. All right, I'm going to take this caller because I think it may be Supervisor Church, and yes, it is. Hello, Supervisor Church?
Yes, hi, how are you today?
Hello, I am well, thank you. How are you?
Oh, doing well.
Very good.
Thank you for the invitation.
I am delighted that you have found time to spend with us here this afternoon. I have been talking about the battery energy storage system problem and, of course, the huge disaster in Moss Landing every week because it is such a critically important issue in our area. So thank you for joining us.
Sure.
I would like you to introduce yourself, and then I think what our listeners are really very much interested in hearing about is the cleanup effort. If you can talk with us about that at the Moss Landing Battery Vistra Fire site.
Sure. Well, I've been supervisor for about 2.5 years. I was elected in 2022, and since that time, we've had a couple of well-known incidents that happened. One, of course, is the flooding in the community of Pajaro back in 23.
Yes.
And then, of course, this battery fire in January. So both of these were significant issues and of different scopes. I'm glad you're constantly bringing up the whole incident from the Moss Landing Battery Fire because it is of extreme significance and importance, not just for our area here, but for the state, for the nation. I mean, we've had at times been contacted by folks outside the country even. So this is an important issue. And in terms of the cleanup, I see that it is progressing, but at a very slow pace. And I have expressed my disappointment that it took was basically 7 months for an agreement to come about on exactly how this cleanup should be done, and that was done between the EPA, the federal government EPA, and Vistra. Of course, I do understand that we have never experienced an incident of this magnitude anywhere in the world. So every time you have a unique event, then it does take some extra steps involved to basically set forth a template from that point, and that's exactly what is happening on a lot of levels down here in the Moss Landing area in Monterey County as we go forth with this. But at this point, as it's standing, it looks like it's going to be taking at least a year to get this cleanup. I have been pleased that the officials at the EPA have actually been very, very good at reaching out to the public, to my office. I meet with them about once a month. They provide materials to my newsletter to go in the newsletter. They are trying to do their best, I believe, in this case, to keep the public informed, which is good. But as I say, it is going slow. One of the things that is still being developed is exactly where the material that was burned is going to go. I've heard from Utah, Nevada, and Arizona. My last discussion with them is it still hadn't been quite decided on. Now, there are unburned batteries in the building that burned. That's Moss 300 is what it was called. And Moss 300 had these batteries that were unburned, and they are being taken to Reno, where they will be recycled in some manner, from what I understand. I do not know the whole process that will be involved up there, but they will be going up there. As the cleanup proceeds, it's going to be done very slowly because there's always a risk of another fire starting from unburned material underneath there, especially if it should get rained on and moisture in some ways. Now, the last discussion I had is that the EPA is talking about erecting some form of a tent around the areas that are most vulnerable. And that's a brief synopsis. I'm sure you have some questions that I can probably try to fill in with as well. But it is important to realize that the one that's really in control of the cleanup here is the federal government, and not the state, not the county, but the federal government.
Thank you for that synopsis. I know that you are aware of Mr. Ed Mitchell's work, investigator with the Never Again Moss Landing group. He issued a condition letter about 2 weeks ago, and his point is that no one yet knows what is in the level of the ash level, the burned, as he calls it, ground zero. We have seen no public information on what are those contaminants and what are the levels, and how will the people who live near there, who are going by the highway, maybe following a truck of this, going down the road. How do you know? Have you seen what the level of contaminants are at ground zero, as Ed calls it?
Yeah, I have not. I know Ed very well from long before I became a supervisor. And Ed has raised this a couple of times. At my last meeting with the EPA, which was last week, I also raised that matter with them about if the whatever's been tested there on the ground, it could be released to the public, because there has been interest into that. And they said they would look into it or consider it, but I did not get a clear, specific answer. Ed did raise that again at the last board meeting that we had on Tuesday, because the Monterey County does monthly updates at its board meeting on what is happening there in Moss Landing. And Ed was there, and he also raised that, and I pointed out to him that I had contacted the EPA about that, and I'll just have to see if they want to release any of this information, or what are the constraints that they're not releasing on. But I would intend to discuss it with him when I meet with him again next month.
Thank you. I mean, why would you not? They must know, because it has to figure into the chain of custody when they haul this toxic material on the public highways, and when they release the chain of custody to the other end, wherever that's going to be dumped. They must know. So why would they hide that from the public?
I don't have an answer to why they would not release it at this point. Again, I raised it with the EPA here a few days ago. I'm hoping I'm going to get an answer back.
Yeah.
At some point, or the public will get an answer back. That's where it really needs to go at this point. So it's it raises good issue, because if it's going to be trucked to Utah, that's a lot of miles.
Yeah. At high speeds, and what happens if there's an accident and the truck tips over or catches on fire or something like that? I would think the Department of Transportation would be very involved in this as well.
And which transportation?
The California Department of Transportation, and I mean, don't they regulate what is on our highways? Don't they?
Well, the federal government has a role in there too. It just depends which road you're going down, what degree of control you have, and who is enforcing that. But you raise a good point. I mean, this is a hazardous material. There has to be some understanding of what's going on into there, and I can't really answer it, because I haven't been given a response myself.
You're not being given any more information than the general public. I really want to thank you for the good level advocacy you have shown from day one on this problem in Monterey County. I've heard you speak at some of the board meetings, and thank you for being an advocate.
Thank you. This is an extremely difficult issue, because the state is the one that really exerts a lot of control. Mm-hmm. One, just over utilities, and this is a utility. Mm-hmm. When PG&E or any public utility, and Vistra as a battery, as a BESS and battery energy system storage facility, is they're also viewed as a utility, and much of their permitting, their significant permitting, such as the batteries, is really done at the state level, on terms of what is safe and how it operates, and there's just so much that is done there. Mm-hmm. But it even goes beyond that, because recent state law in the form of an assembly bill back in 2023, which is AB 205, mm-hmm. is basically allows an out for anybody who wants to come in and set up a battery facility that is 200 megawatts or more. Now, I know there's one outside of Watsonville that Santa Cruz County is discussing, and that one's smaller, as I understand, and so it really has more control at the local level on that. And Moss Landing, this is much bigger facility. So with AB 205, what a utility is able to do is look at a local jurisdiction, whatever it may be, city or county, and if it sees that the regulations or there's going to be opposition that are not going to be something that they want to work with, they can completely bypass the local level, go to the state, and once they complete an application, they can get a decision in 270 days from the California Energy Commission on whether to build or not. Yeah. And we do not have the power to shut down what there is in Moss Landing, because the rain permitting agency is the California Public Utilities Commission. They're the ones supposed to be looking onto safety and matters onto there. Now, I'm wanting to see Monterey County develop some kind of local controls and monitoring, but I'm having to also, try to put this together, walk somewhat of a fine line, because if something comes down too strong, then they're just going to completely bypass us.
Yeah.
And local people, in my view, deserve the right to determine what happens in their communities, or at the very least, have a significant say-so. Because we know in our communities what we need to do, what we want, what we feel needs to be addressed better than Sacramento or Washington does. Now,
Thank you. Hear, hear.
I'm not completely against. Yes, go ahead.
No, I'm just applauding you. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Well, this is a real challenge here.
Yeah.
But this is an area down here which I understand why these utilities want to come in, and it's important for people to realize the history. Is, we can see these two big big stacks of down here, smokestacks. They were built in the mid to late 1960s. PG&E had been in there since right after World War II. In the 1960s, they expanded dramatically. They expanded, and at one time, through the 60s and the 70s, that power plant in Moss Landing was known as Mighty Moss, and it produced more electricity than any place on the West Coast. Wow. It actually produced as much electricity in those times as all the power plants in Los Angeles. It was a major player in the world. It actually, at that time, burned both petroleum and natural gas, and it was the second largest conventionally fueled power plant in the world, second to one in East Germany.
Wow.
And what that means is that there is massive infrastructure down there to carry electricity outward into the Bay Area and beyond, and that makes it a very enticing spot for Vistra or PG&E to put their facilities, or for anybody else to come in and put facilities. And as I have stated, we're in a very precarious situation, because I want to make sure we have the local people, everybody in the Monterey Bay area, as much input and what goes into there possible, and not push any of these utilities to the point where they're just going to completely bypass us and give us the minimal requirement that the state would require from AB 207, which is to hold a public hearing somewhere in the area. Well, if we're going to have a public hearing, it needs to be with local officials, a board of supervisors, for example, and not with bureaucrats up in Sacramento.
Yes. Thank you. And I'm watching what's happening in San Juan Capistrano regarding that process. That's exactly what's happening in San Juan Capistrano. The CEC, the Energy Commission, it has the project on their table, and they're in this 270-day cycle. And there's been an outpouring of public opposition, but we have yet to see how much attention the CEC will pay to anybody's opposition to the project. Where is Monterey County in terms of its process to get a grid-scale BESS ordinance put in place?
Yes, I'm in the process of proposing one to the county, and I hope to do this in the near future. I've been meeting with multiple department heads and agencies in the area, and wanting just to get as best of a grasp as I can on this. I would have really liked to have jumped into this earlier, but again, so much of this is new. So much of this has been developing. For example, the cleanup. I never would have thought the cleanup would take 7 months. I'm glad I've tried to take some time and effort to really get a grasp of the whole picture of this scenario, instead of just jumping into it like I initially thought I might do back in month 2 or 3, because this is what's going on with the cleanup is obviously one of the problems here, because Vistra spent plenty of time negotiating with the EPA on how to do a cleanup. There should be, in any company that comes in and puts in batteries anywhere, they should have a cleanup process written into their plan.
Yes.
Not have it designed afterwards. There's a whole range of things that are needed. There's bonds. Some performance bonds need to be out there for people who suffer, and that there could be some some aid, and if a facility is found to be culpable to people's health, to their property, to the environment. So there's a whole range of things as I just keep digging into this and looking deeper and deeper. Fortunately, Monterey County is not the only county trying to do this at the local level. It's my understanding that Solano, Los Angeles, Orange, and San Diego are all looking into to developing these as well.
Santa Cruz as well. Yeah.
Oh, Santa Cruz as well. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Well, they're not getting very far. We haven't seen much yet. So, how soon do you think you might present a draft ordinance?
I hate to put myself down on a specific timeline, but I'm hoping in the relatively near future to put something forth. Now, it won't even be really quite a draft ordinance at that point, because it's probably going to take a year or longer to really draft it together. But it's going to be to give direction to the various agencies that we need. And, the county needs us, because it's not just for the larger 200 megawatt facilities, which the state is very happy to jump in on and take the ball and completely run the whole way. There are the smaller facilities too, which the state still has a very significant role to play in. And those are the ones that cannot be appealed to AB 205's process. So we really need to have some understanding control at this level. And I spent considerable time talking to our health officials, and we will be as well with fire officials. I've talked with our housing community development officials, and just as we look at this whole thing is in a big picture sense, to do really the best we can right now with the technology that nobody really has a total grasp on at this point, particularly from a regulatory angle.
Yeah. I did look at the Monterey County site regarding this issue, and it hasn't been updated since April in terms of a user-friendly tool to get information. And is there any plan to maybe update that to give better, more current information?
There's supposed to be, I believe, some updates coming up here with information that has recently been acquired from some field tests and a few other developments. I do not know the actual dates or the specifics. I don't really recall on that at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that it will be coming. But it is really needed. I want to just ask you one quick question. Then we have a caller on the line. I would like to take Mr. Brian Roeder, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, I know Brian.
Okay.
I'm happy to talk to him again.
Excellent. The question I want to ask you is about the status of the Holcomb BESS project with Clearway Energy. What can you tell us about that? That's planned to be at Moss Landing.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything that has come in at this point, and I should state right now there are only 2 applications that are out there, and they both have been suspended. And one of them, Vistra and PG&E, both want to expand, but they both realize under the situation at hand right now that isn't the thing to do. And as a matter of fact, both of them are not in operation at this time. And as I've just learned from today, PG&E, which was going to open up in June, this June, but then had some technical issues with their coolant system, have stated that they're not going to open up again until June, or they're not going to consider opening up until June of next year, 2026.
Interesting.
Apparently, and I should make some things I want to explain here too, because we know Vistra has batteries there, and then PG&E has batteries, and the word the brand name Tesla comes up as well. Tesla is with PG&E. It's Tesla batteries that that PG&E uses. So that's not 3 different entities operating there, but PG&E and Tesla operating together. And I guess Tesla is going to be doing something to their batteries over the next year or 2.
improve some safety issues with that they had some concerns with.
That is good. That is always good. Safety improvements.
There has been interest. There has been interest in other companies, but nobody has put forth an application, which I would say would be very wise, because it's not going to be met very well by the public at this point.
Right. Yeah. Well, I understand that the Clearway Energy applicant is moving forward to get permission from the CAISO to connect to the grid, and that's for the it's being called the Holman BESS LLC, and Central Coast Community Energy has already financially supported it greatly to be able to have purchase options for the energy that would be stored there. So it is bubbling along. Do you want to take this call from Brian Roeder from Never Again Moss Landing now? All right. Supervisor Church, thank you very much. Let's see what Brian has to say here now. Hello, Brian. Can you hear us? Hello?
Yes, Becky, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and Supervisor Church is on the line as well. Thank you for calling in. What would you like to say?
Well, let's see. Glenn, thanks for being available to the community. You've done that from the very beginning, and it's just greatly appreciated. And Becky, thank you for all the work you're doing to keep this story out there and helping people understand some of the many really amazing, incredible aspects of the story as it continues. Glenn, let's see. I guess my question for you is, we've been talking, Never Again Moss Landing has been in several meetings with the website designer, PR, public outreach folks at the EPA. And what they've made clear is that the EPA is working in an oversight capacity with Vistra in regards to Vistra's plan to clean up what they call inside the fence. One of the issues we brought up when we met with the folks in the EPA last week was that in order for them to begin to dispose of those batteries, as they plan to start, working on next month, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong at any point here, Glenn, as part of that, they really need to be able to identify what's in that pile, what is still there from those batteries. Never Again's been asking for quite a while now from anybody that'll listen, if they can identify that. And because EPA is working with Vistra within the fence, I'm just wondering whether or not you have any thoughts about how we could get that information within the context that all of that's going to have to go down our roads and it's going to have to be disposed of somewhere. So as a member of our group, Tanya Rivera, has indicated that typically requires really full disclosure at some point of what is in that refuse pile in order to get, clarity on where it would go, because different dumps are rated at different, capacities in terms of what they take on. Is the county involved in any way of trying to get that information? And is there any thoughts you have about how we could get that released publicly? Because it's going to have to be made clear at some point to someone. So any thoughts about how we get that information?
Yeah, Brian, hey, good to talk to you again, and thanks for calling. I don't know if you heard the earlier comments with Becky and I. We did talk briefly about that a little bit. That's fine. I did bring it up with the EPA last week. I know Ed Mitchell has made this a real focal point, and so I brought it up. The EPA was said they would look into it. Is basically what it was, and I agree. I mean, this stuff should be public information. I don't know what kind of agreement they have with Vistra entirely on some of this stuff. I mean, to there, I should probably dig a little more deeper into there, but I can't imagine Vistra has any veto over this. But I'm hoping it's going to get out. Now, just to let people know, when they say they start the cleanup next month, that doesn't mean they're going to start scooping this stuff up and loading it on trucks that's hauling out, right? Because they don't even have a site where they're going to take that material. Now, they might be dismantling some of the batteries that didn't burn up to go to Reno, Nevada for recycling. Yes. But there is a real problem there with a wall. If you look at any pictures, there's this wall just kind of standing by itself here for the last 7 months, and it's been precarious for 7 months. And I shake my head, and that this hasn't been addressed because it's unstable. And there's concerns that this wall falls, it could fall on other batteries, it could fall on into the debris, and who knows what it could create at that point. That's the first thing that they are going to have to deal with. One, for safety for the workers, and two, just because it's a really serious a problem there. It's a huge wall.
Yeah.
And a follow-on separate question, Glenn. This gets back to kind of more on the county, and again, I apologize if it's already been addressed. If it has, and you don't have to answer. So in regards to the testing that the county's done, I've seen the results from the first test, and I know that, the consultant said that they basically couldn't use the data. If I understood correctly, what I saw, which is at our website, is that the first data set really couldn't be interpreted by the consultants who were tasked with trying to figure out what the testing meant. I know that environmental health has done additional testing. I'm not sure on the details of where. When will we find out where that testing occurred and what the results were, and whether or not that interpretation has occurred?
So I'm trying to recall the exact timeline that was brought forth at the at Tuesday's meeting. I believe our Department of Emergency Management Director Kelsey Scanlon addressed this, but I don't want to say the specific timeline, but I believe that this information is going to be put out, and relatively near future with those tests. And that consultant was a toxicologist who. It was really good to get that consultant because they pointed out, as the report said on there, problems with not just whatever the county did, but what the state did, and the state really was leading this testing.
Yes. And
I really thought the state was going to come back and do more testing, and so did the county, and so we were a little bit left holding the bag there on this. This is where we had to hire toxicologists because we didn't get one provided from the state.
Wow.
Right. And I know that the state is where that capacity generally resides. So the fact that the state has not engaged and provided that support has led to your need to try and do that. I appreciate that you guys are trying to do that through your own hiring of a toxicologist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's important to realize when you get technology like this, cutting edge in that technology, cities and counties do not have that kind of expertise on hand when you're dealing with something that's just being implemented for one of the first times. And so when there's an incident like this, where there's an accident, we go to the state. We go to this, when the flooding was in Pajaro, we provided some assistance. So we went to the state, and then we went to FEMA because they have the greater resources. In this case, it's more technical resources. Because Monterey County, which is a good, large, medium-sized plus size county, we don't keep a toxicologist on staff. It would be very expensive, and we wouldn't have much need for a person such as that. So you expect you're going to get that from the state, from like the Department of Toxic Substances Control, or some of these, or whatever your need is going to be onto there. Right.
And they didn't come. Gentlemen, I am sorry to inform you we're down to our last 25 seconds. I'm going to hand the floor to you, Supervisor Church, to close out and let us know how we can learn more. Thank you so much. And thank you, Brian.
Of course. Sure. Yeah, thank you, Brian. Learning more, I think, one of the things is we just got to keep this in the public eye. Your show, Never Again Lost Landing, with Brian Roeder, Ed Mitchell, others that are out there are keeping this in the forefront. That's what we've got to do. It's the best way, because I will say PG&E and PG&E and Vistra are both concerned about their public image.
Yeah.
And that is the best tool we really have. Keep aware and keep active, and just do not hesitate to speak out.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Supervisor Church, thank you for joining us. Brian Roeder from Never Again Moss Landing, thank you both for joining us. We're off the air now.
Thank you.
I really appreciate both of you. Thank you for your good work.
Sure. Thank you,
All
Becky.
right.
You have a good
Take
good
care.
day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Becky.
Thank you. Can I get any of you water?
I'll take one.
I'll take one. Linda.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
And I'm gonna let you guys enjoy these.
Let me make sure my phone's retrieved.
And you get two, because you're the chief.
Oh, nice.
Let me bring you water. I'll be right back.
Seattle,
If you need
thank
the
you.
restroom, it's around the corner.
We just shared that too.
I'll be right back.
Just
Share
that. Jim, you want this seat? I'll sit over there.
No, that's okay. I'll share it. He's going to do more talking than me.
We'll see.
I
think the chief will get a lot of
No,
questions.
I don't think there's gonna. I don't think there are questions. I think it's just.
She's a nice lady.
Yeah.
She's involved in everything from roads to fire to
Oh,
water.
that's great. Well, you know my pitch on, budget, leadership, and a plan.
Yeah.
Well, but that's a good way. It's not punting things. They say, how did we get here? It's like you need all three things at the same time. So the budget's been the big missing piece.
Well, yeah, I think that's
So without that, you have intermittent leadership, and then now we have a forward-looking plan.
Yeah.
Well, do we agree though that when Mr. Gray, the former chief, he kind of took his eyes off the path?
Yeah, but then it looks like a finger pointing.
I think that he
Well,
had a lot.
I know, but
I
I'm
think he
saying
had a lot of
between
medical
us.
issues that he had
Yeah,
to step
he-
away from.
no,
The
it's-
district fell into that vacuum, and I'm not saying it's directly his fault, but there's a lot of things that transpired.
Well, it makes me wonder, if somebody's ever going to ask, well, do you want to be a managing board instead of a governing board? Because governing board didn't work. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah.
Well, I think the big question to answer, and as the ballot measure comes up, is, well, what's different now? What's changed? It's like we have a leader, we have a plan, and it's going to be up to the community for the budget.
Yeah.
And that plan has changed the participation in the groups, right? So I mean, like, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Baker, thank you.
You're welcome.
Under previous leadership, it just didn't transpire that way, right? Whether it wasn't congealing of personalities or meshing, or whatever. But the Valley, I'd like to see those numbers because those would be relevant to us presently.
Well, I'm sure we can get all that.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be in the board minutes.
So let's see. I have two sets of headphones that you won't need unless you want to take calls.
I wasn't planning.
Okay, then we'll just leave this as it is. I understand.
Not a bunch of angry firefighters calling.
Well, I sure appreciate all that you're doing.
Oh, well, thank
And,
you. It's everyone. I mean, we're all doing it.
And that's very clear that you want the public involved, and I really appreciate that. I was not able to go to the board meeting on Monday, but I went Saturday, and that was amazing to see the hall full of people.
It was. He kept saying, it's going to be full, and I was like, okay, I've seen the hall full before, but it was nice. And the biggest thing I took away from it was the consensus from the community. I mean, obviously, they're going to be pro fire just because of the fire-wise aspect of it. But,
And I always judge those events by the number and quality of the questions. I thought the questions were great.
I kind
And
of
the answers were good too.
I kind of wanted to keep going with the questions, quite honestly.
I should have.
I
should have. I was hoping they would mingle and go ask you afterwards and ask their more personal questions.
Yeah.
But lesson to me is like when you have an event and serve pizza, as soon as the presentation's over, they tend to want to leave. So
Well, we're going to be on the air in about 30 seconds, so you will want to pull this closer to you. You guys will need to share. You'll need to be about a fist away from the microphone. I have to wear this because this is how it's set up for me. And we're going to be on the air in 5 seconds. I'll ask you to introduce yourselves. Welcome back to Community Matters. This is your host, Becky Steinbruner, and I want to thank you for listening in on the first hour when we had a synopsis of what's happening in Santa Cruz County with the Battery Energy Storage Ordinance and Commission on the Environment. And then we were honored to have Monterey County Supervisor Glenn Church call in at 2:30 and join us and talk with us about what's going on with the cleanup effort at Moss Landing. And we were also joined by Mr. Brian Roeder from Never Again Moss Landing. So if you missed that, don't worry. This program is recorded and it will be posted on the Community Matters webpage this afternoon. So thank you for staying on. Our second hour is going to be wonderful because I have here in the studio with me 3 very fine gentlemen from Felton Fire District, including Chief Isaac Blum and 2 directors that I will let you all introduce yourselves. Let's start with the chief first. Felton Fire Chief.
Sure. Isaac Blum.
You'll need to get a little closer to the microphone. You can pull it to you
Right.
if you want.
Isaac Blum, born and raised as a Valley resident. I'm happy to be Felton's interim chief. Really excited about all the changes that we've been able to make in recent years, and just looking forward to this interview.
Thank you. Thank you very much for taking time to be here. Please,
Hi,
you'll
Becky,
need to be a
Becky.
fist away from the microphone
Sure.
too.
My name is Craig Winter. I live in Forest Lakes in Felton. I am on the board of Forest Lakes Firewise and Safety Association, and more recently, as of the beginning of the month, on the Felton Fire Protection District Board. And really glad to be here. Really excited about the way forward.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm Jimmy Anderson, Felton Fire Board Commissioner and a longtime Valley resident of Felton since 1973. I'm also a LAFCO Commissioner, just for edification.
Yes, and that's an important piece in our discussion today because what has brought this big issue to the public's attention and to your board's attention is a 247-page analysis from Mr. Serrano, the director of the Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO, saying, you guys have problems, these are the problems, and you need to fix it. And he gave you a deadline of October 6th.
That is correct.
To take action. And Mr. Anderson, you are on LAFCO. So do you find yourself a little bit in a conundrum here?
Not really. It's something that we've dealt with. I've been a LAFCO Commissioner for 20 years, and we've gone through the potential formation of the Bonnie Doon Fire District, which wasn't successful. And I've sat on the ad hoc committees for both Scotts Valley and Bransford, as well as Central and Aptos. So, I know the operation of the LAFCO and the rules and regulations and stuff, and I think this is a great plan to be followed, and LAFCO will help us through whatever decision we make to have a successful outcome.
Yeah. But LAFCO can't really force anything, right?
No, we've the story I like to tell is we do a sphere of influence every 5 years on every entity, and we recommended the dissolution of 2 of the recreation districts in Santa Cruz County, and one of the districts decided that yes, dissolution is what they wanted to do, and they didn't want to resist it, and they were ultimately dissolved and went in with county parks. The county park service, and the other one said no, we want to change things around. We're going to do this and this and this, the things outlined by LAFCO, and they did. And so they're kind of a poster child for. They realigned their board, started having regular meetings, collecting minutes, and had a website and did everything. And now to this day, they're a successful recreation district. So,
Well, that's a good thing.
yeah.
That's good. Chief Blum,
Yeah.
I really want to commend you for all that you're doing. I mean,
Thank you.
stepping in, volunteering your time, a lot of time.
Oh, yeah, a lot.
A lot of time. And I was not able to attend this last Monday's board meeting, and so, but I was at the Felton Fire Revival that Mr. Winters, the Firewise community you organized, put together, and it was a full house of a lot of really good people and a lot of good questions. So, Chief Blum, why don't you tell us a little bit about your perspective on all of this?
On the LAFCO report specifically, or just the district?
Let's start with the LAFCO report.
First off, I think Joe did an outstanding job kind of identifying historically where things have kind of tracked over the last few years with Felton Fire. I stepped in roughly 14, 15 months ago as interim chief back then, and I've been a chief officer throughout the district this entire time. The one thing I kind of felt with the LAFCO report was a little bit of assurance. And by that, I mean, there were things that I identified early on that the district could possibly be struggling from that the LAFCO report pointed out. So to me, it validated in a way some of the feelings that I had and the directions we were going. And plans that were drafted but not yet put in place. So that way, I do feel that, moving forward, we'll be able to address a lot of those LAFCO concerns fairly quickly.
I'm going to ask you to pull that microphone just a little bit closer to you there.
Alrighty, how's that?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you. You're the chief. We want to hear for sure what you say.
Nobody wants to listen to what I have to say.
No, not so. And I did attend the board meeting. It was on Friday, and what I think, and you repeated this at the Saturday event. The LAFCO report captured the problems, but it didn't really reflect what has happened recently.
I think that's an accurate statement. They do a really good job looking at essentially the last, what amounts to 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. But not really this last year. We've made a lot of significant changes, both through my time as interim chief initially, through the Ben Lomond contract, and then I'm back into the chief's role. Things have been trending upwards for Felton Fire over the last year, and that, unfortunately, and I did talk to Mr. Serrano about it, I did want an appendix or, an amendment.
An addendum maybe, huh?
Correct, to basically, address, this is where things have been in the last year. But rightfully so, it wasn't done, and that's fine, and that gives us the ability to, release that ourselves. And so, moving forward, we'll be releasing those kind of statistical data on a monthly basis, as far as, call response time, number of responders, all those sorts of things that we had hoped that they would have taken into account over the last year, kind of showing that we were trending kind of on a back to an up cycle. But that's fine. I mean, we can take that data that we're presenting, or we will be presenting, along with the LAFCO report, and show that, it's, we're not discounting what was said years ago or the data that was gathered. That, from the chief's point of view, that's factual and it's accurate. But, we are, moving in a different direction than the report kind of indicates, if that makes sense.
It does. Director Winters, do you want to talk with us a little bit about what you see as some of the biggest positives that are happening? You're new on the board, but I'm sure that you've been watching for a long time.
Yeah, I do see a lot of positives happening here. I think it's a very exciting time, and that's why that event on Saturday was called Felton Fire Revival, because I see a great opportunity here to increase the pride and the performance of the fire department here too. And a couple of key things for that is going to be, we want a higher degree of community engagement. Saturday was very encouraging. The community showed up, had some great questions, and are very engaged. And also a higher degree of transparency. As the chief mentioned, we want to start sharing these vital statistics of the performance of the station, response time being the most important one, right? Response time and coverage. And the community should be able to go to our website and be able to see those numbers. So when they ask, I hear a lot of things about the station. How do I know what's really happening, and how can we monitor how things are getting better? So those statistics about the average response time and the coverage of the station 24/7, for example, coverage, there's always somebody there, and the type and number of squad people that show up, and the training of the squad as well. And a good example of that, I don't know if Chief wants to mention that, is yesterday was a very busy day from our station, and it kind of proved that the turnaround is in progress.
Talk with us about some of the busy events. I know.
So yesterday would have been a good example. Felton averages roughly 2.5 calls a day, right? Well, yesterday we ran 7 calls, 3 of them simultaneously, yet we were able to staff all of those organically with Felton firefighters, with Felton apparatus. We didn't request mutual aid. We didn't have to do anything else. We did start some precautionary units from other agencies in case incidents continued to grow, but we ended up canceling those units before essentially being needed. So if that makes sense.
That's great.
So, from a chief's standpoint of, are we truly succeeding at our job? I think instances like this point to that yes, we are trending in that right direction again. It wasn't long ago, 14, 15 months ago when I came in, I came into a station that was, staffed during daytime hours with paid personnel. However, after hours, from roughly 6 p.m. on, it was a real crapshoot whether you could staff an engine or not.
If it was going to be Felton or Zianti showing up.
That statistical data drove me to the decision to essentially brown out the station. So for roughly 14 hours a day, the station went offline, and those calls went to the closest available resource. It's sad to say, but it's the reality to make sure that we provided the best service for the community. Prior to that, calls were basically being routed to Felton. Felton would either respond or not respond, and that would, in the cases of them not responding, that extended the response times for surrounding agencies, and that just wasn't an acceptable solution to the problem. So it was a hard decision to make, but I think it was the right decision for the community. And again, I'm really happy that we're where we're at today.
Mr. Anderson, you've been on this board for a very long time. Tell us what you think is what's causing this change to put Felton back on the upswing.
That's a good question. It's just revitalization. The interest, all of a sudden, the young people that we have there, we went through a period of problems recruiting, and now we're to the point of even trying to decide if we can bring on any more, because you have to outfit them. As you'll hear, budgeting is a problem, and the fire service, turnouts, timeout, so you have to replace turnouts every so often, even if they're sitting on the shelf. So there's a lot of expense, but we have changed the way we were training people. We were sending them to the academy, and the last 2 classes of academy people, the chief can correct me, I don't think we saw one boots on the ground from that. And so we've redone that. We're doing a lot of in-house training, getting them experience and proving themselves, let's say, before we decide to send them to the academy. And we have numerous people going through a EMT class. We've had some past firefighters come back that are engineers and EMTs. So it's just all that, and just the whole demeanor of the group. We went through a phase where they didn't want to participate in pancake breakfast and different things, and now they want to bring all that back and participate. You go into the station now and you find 4, 6, even 8 firefighters there, ready to go, dressed. And as you saw at the community event, we had a whole cadre of firefighters. They even responded to 2 calls during the event.
Did.
So, I think the leadership of Chief Blum has added a lot to that. He's a knowledgeable guy as a professional firefighter, and he's building the camaraderie among these new troops, and they're just eager to do everything.
Yeah.
We've had a little help from an outside agency with more training and stuff. It's unbelievable.
That's really wise to have some in-house training and really find out how serious they are, and let them see, is this really what I want to do before you go through the academy.
Yeah. We've always had a fifth Tuesday dinner. It's been a tradition, as it is with a lot of the Valley departments. And recently we had a fifth Tuesday dinner, and the firefighters wanted to cook the dinner themselves. Usually we have somebody provide that, and they participated in that. And the turnout that we had was unbelievable compared to, say, the last year when we had fifth Tuesday dinners, and we'd have very poor turnout. So
Wow.
And the tacos were good.
The tacos.
Very important point.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a huge thing when you've got a volunteer base, that you've got to have this camaraderie and you've got to have the connection with the public.
I will tell you that I've been in the fire service 26 years now, 25 of those as a career firefighter, but during that time I also spent roughly 16 years as a volunteer firefighter concurrently. And this by far is the best group of firefighters that I have ever experienced. I jokingly say they're like brothers and sisters who don't fight. It's an amazing group, and I'm just really fortunate that they're there now and that we're continuing to build. Director Anderson talked about it a little bit. We went from roughly about 12 at the end of the Blum contract to we're at 23 right now, and I'm looking at bringing on another 7 to 10.
Wow.
And I've actually got a wait list right now of about 6 more waiting for interviews. And we're not just taking anybody, but it's just I think that we've gained some traction. We've got some good momentum going forward, and there's people who see this movement and they want to jump in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat.
And I would culture is everything, and culture comes from the top.
Yeah.
And so, as I mentioned on Saturday, you need 3 things in any organization to be successful. You need a strong leader. You need a plan, a leader with a vision, I should say, which we have, a credible, proactive plan, and one of the most important things, like it or not, is a budget to support those 2 things.
Yeah. Yeah. So we know we've got a good leader here now. It's been difficult since Chief Gray left, and before him, Chief Rickabaugh. So it's been difficult, but it looks like we've settled into some good shoes here with Chief Blum.
We are there now.
So let's talk about the budget and the plan. Who wants to talk about the plan?
I'll talk about the kind of the way forward to the plan. There's a principle for that plan, though, too, is we believe that in order to achieve the budget, and this was mentioned in the LAFCO report too, we believe there's going to have to be a special election with a flat parcel tax. We can get into the details of what that means. But more importantly, the more important aspect of that is we believe it should be a community decision on the way forward. If you look at the LAFCO plan, I know there were a dozen options, but essentially it comes down to 2 choices, right? It's a standalone Felton Fire Department station or not. And the not could be contract or merge. Who we merge with, is something we have to explore, but it's really 2 choices. Revive the standalone station, which is going to require an increased budget, or merge with and become a different district. However, that does not, this is the most important point, that does not solve the budget issue.
Yes.
A lot of residents may think, and rightfully so offhand, is that if we merge with another district might have more money and more resources and newer equipment. But it will not. They still have to staff our station, or should, right? That's a big
what
question.
You want.
It should. And that goes back to the chief's vision of a fully staffed 24/7 high-performing station where our squad members know the community very well. And when I say know the community, they know your family, they know your pets, they know people that need assistance, and they know your very unique road at the top of the mountain to get to, and what equipment to take there and what equipment will get there.
And the bridges.
And the
in
bridges
between.
and all the other issues and the turnarounds. And, we've seen Amazon trucks get stuck and block roads. I have myself. So those are really key points. So if we were to merge, then we rely on another board and another chief and a new district to achieve those goals there, to achieve that vision. So that's why the budget is critical. But I want to make the point that if we have a special election with a flat parcel tax, the residents aren't really voting against yes or no on a tax. Nobody loves a tax. I'm going to get it as well. But what they're voting for is the vision for the Felton Fire Department station and their control and having their own chief. If it gets merged with something else, whether it's County or Zayante or Boulder Creek, they still have to cover the budget shortfall. And to back that up, we mentioned that on Saturday, our budget comes from a percentage of the tax assessment, property taxes there too, but there has been no special tax or additional tax in 30 years. So you can imagine the price of equipment and turnouts and fire trucks and the price of eggs, all those things have gone up. So we need to catch up.
Yeah. I was amazed to learn that when I went to the Felton Fire Board meeting on Friday. That was early in August, that one was, that there had been no tax increase specifically to support the fire. Mr. Anderson, you've been on this board a very long time. Has that never been discussed before?
No, well, I wouldn't say discussed, but it was probably in passing. But we've been self-sustaining for years. In fact, we would pay cash for our engines, but everybody was volunteers then. The only paid person we had for years was a chief. Then quite a few years ago, there was a station person added that became a PERS employee. And we just didn't need it. We were having a reserve every year. But now with the price of things escalating faster than you can imagine, it's not the same. We experienced, we didn't have the full-time paid chief, but we had 4 daytime paid fire people. And we could see then what the impact was of having 4 full-time people that covered 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, had on our budget. And that was a realization that something had to change. And then our chief left and had just left, and so we went through the different changes of a couple different chiefs for different reasons. Because we're a PERS agency, that precluded some of them from staying on because they were PERS annuitants from paid departments in the past. So,
Thank you. I found that quite amazing that there had been no special tax put forward to the ballot to the voters. And I expect that will change now, and that's probably part of the discussion, as you said, Mr. Winters. Mr. Serrano's LAFCO report puts forth this $700 per parcel estimate. How would Felton Fire go about evaluating if the people want to keep Felton Fire as a standalone agency? What's the plan moving forward to figure out what it's going to cost?
Well, I think that a lot of the work, honestly, is very accurate in Joe's report, and I think that $700 is pretty factual for where we kind of need to be. I mean, he did a lot of work. He created a good roadmap, I'll be honest. I mean, I don't really find fault with anything within that report. I mean, some of it's hard to look at, but it's accurate again. That $700, I think, would get us to that point where we would be able to staff that station, with 2 or 3 bodies per day. I think that we've proven the concept of 24/7 staffing. That's how we're presently staffed with volunteers. So my volunteers come in for a 12-hour shift. They get paid a stipend. It's below minimum wage, if you were to compare it. To volunteer to provide service for the community, and that has taken our response time from roughly 12 to 14 minutes, a year and a half, 2 years ago, to an 8-minute mark to now we're at a roughly a 5-minute mark for most calls.
Wow.
So
That's great.
It's I think it's in the right direction.
And aside from staffing, if you want to speak to facility, equipment maintenance and upgrading, what's a new fire engine cost these days?
Yeah. So back when I started, fire engines were anywhere between about $275,000, $300,000. Now a budget engine is pushing just a bit, just right around $1 million to $1.1 million. And the lead time's 5 years. And you have to sign a disclosure stating that you're willing to accept most manufacturers, you have to be willing to accept up to a 20% cost increase by the time of delivery.
Holy cow.
And so it's a substantial investment. Obviously, with our budget issues that we've had in the past, we haven't been able to keep pace with that. We do have an engine that's due for replacement in roughly 3.5 years. So we're a little concerned about that. The rest of our fleet's doing okay for now. The station was built in the late 40s, into the 50s. It's gone through several additions and remodels. Our infrastructure needs a lot of work. Unfortunately, it's been deferred over the last few years as we put most of our budget into, paid staffing. But yeah.
You have a lot of nice equipment for what I always think of Felton as being a small fire district. There's a lot of equipment there.
There is some redundancy built in. Obviously, we want to make sure that we do that on purpose. But we also need to be smart with our money moving forward, and probably diversify a little bit. If I can borrow something from a neighbor, maybe I don't need to have this piece of equipment, but maybe I can provide something else that's more specialized that nobody else is offering. To kind of provide a well-rounded fire service approach in our community, and I mean that San Lorenzo Valley wide.
Yeah.
Becky, you mentioned small. It feels that way. It's a great rural, tight-knit community. But Chief, it's worth mentioning again your responsibilities, the number of calls, and that Roaring Camp, Henry Cowell State Park, and Garden of Eden complex rope rescues are are top of mind for most people that drive through Felton.
Yes.
Excuse me. What Craig brings up is a good fact that, Felton is a sleepy community. We have roughly 6,000 residents. But through the day, we see roughly about 28,000 cars travel the Highway 9 intersection right there at 9 and Empire, essentially. So we see most of the valley, San Lorenzo Valley, exiting through our district. Additionally, I was surprised, quite honestly, at the number released by state parks in regards to the 1.5 million visitors a year to Henry Cowell.
Wow.
So you figure Fall Creek and Henry Cowell, so we're seeing those visitors, we're seeing that influx, we're definitely seeing the call volume increase. There are no tax base or taxes received from state parks anyway. And the same thing with Roaring Camp. For the most part, it's roughly about 250,000 visitors a year. So we're seeing a huge influx on bodies within our district, and no tax base to cover it. Unfortunately, where we're left right now as far as the funding mechanism is to reach out to the public. Ultimately, if you look at it as an hours-based kind of concept, they're still going to reap the greatest benefit for the expense, if that makes sense, because they do live in our district. But overall, that's another thing that we're seeing. That's why we're also seeing a lot of our calls continue to increase in volume.
Yeah. And as more people find out about the Garden of Eden, it's just going to happen, isn't it? Yeah. And, I'm aware that Felton Fire used to be considered the county's specialist in large animal rescues. Are you still doing those kinds of trainings? I know there was a lady named Audrey that was just phenomenal.
Yes. So,
large animal rescue.
We still retain all the equipment. I was originally one of the core instructors for that curriculum as it was developed. Was credited with helping to create that. We are presently still able to respond in that capacity, depending on the staffing level. There are other firefighters throughout the valley who have taken that same course, so
good.
It's nice to be able to diversify a little bit, and as best we can, we will still continue to respond to those as long as it doesn't put the public in danger.
Yeah. What about, I was impressed to hear something about a dumpster fire or defensible space dumpster program at Saturday. Supervisor Monica Martinez was there, and I see also in Felton's charges, you actually will go out and help people do fire defensible space chipping work.
Yeah, those are two different things.
Yeah.
Monica Martinez was instrumental in working with the county and the dump transfer station in Ben Lomond to have free dump days through August. So we only have a couple left. So that was a Firewise thing for our Forest Lakes Firewise community. We're saying, okay, that solved a big problem of paying to dump your green yard waste. Mm-hmm. So for Forest Lakes residents, just because we're Forest Lakes Firewise, we will come by with a dump trailer and take it to the dump for people that have no way of getting their green yard waste to the dump if they don't have a truck. Or some people actually I saw rented a U-Haul. That was very clever. I'm not sure the U-Haul people like that, but we did see that at the dump. So we're just doing that as a Firewise service to the residents. Mm-hmm. And the free chipping programs are great as well.
Mm-hmm. Those free chipping programs through the Felton Fire, because it's in your service fees.
It's through the Valley Fire Chiefs. There is a chipper available that can be reserved, and we go out and do the chipping once the different entities, like a community and whatever, get together and have some sort of pile of those that the fire department will go out and chip those up.
That's very nice service.
RCD has a couple times a year for the chipping program as well. So definitely they will chip in place. I like to bust myths too. One of the myths are, well, if they disperse the chips on my property, is that a fire hazard? Is like it is not. It's not going to make a giant pile. They're going to be dispersed and take away a lot of the bulk out of whatever you have there.
It's no longer a ladder, right? Fuel ladder.
It's not a ladder fuel. It's like as long as you don't have so much that it makes a giant pile, as long as it's 3 inches or less.
Yeah, excellent. Mr. Winters, you are head of a Firewise community. For the benefit of our listeners, this is a little bit separate from Felton Fire District, but talk with us just a little bit about the benefit of having a Firewise community.
Oh, thanks for that question. I'm on a board with 4 other members. There are 2. But forming a Firewise community is a way to just organize your community for defensible space to be safer, right? It's our the 3 pillars that I always lead with. Is the reason we do this is for the safety of your family, preserve the value of your home, and to contribute and build a stronger community there too. So anybody starting, I think the minimum is maybe 8 houses, maybe even to 2,000. I think it's a pretty high number. But when you form a Firewise committee, yes, you get an insurance discount, but that's not the primary reason. The primary reason is for safety and defensible space. It's just a way to organize the people on your street and work together. For example, not everyone is physically able to cut brush down on a steep hillside, but if you work with your neighbors and form a work party, everybody can work together to get it done and get rid of all that material and create that defensible space around your home. Another concern people have, the 2 things I like to knock down as more myth busting here too, is that it's expensive to catch up, and I'll never catch up if you live in a forested area. It's like step at a time, right? Let's start with what they call zone 0. That's the 5 feet around your home. May cost you nothing. It's just clear that out. It shouldn't be mulch. It should be, either mineral soil or rocks around your home. Just clear out the 5 feet around your home. Yeah. Some people are concerned. It's like, well, yeah, but that rose bush has been handed down through my family. People are very flexible on that. No one's going to cite you. You should invite people to help you out. Invite your neighbors. Invite volunteer home inspection, ignition zone inspectors, the defensible space inspectors from CAL FIRE. They're not there to cite you. They're there to help you and say, look, you don't have to cut out all these trees. Just limb them up a bit. Maybe move this log pile or this old car or boat. Maybe move that a little bit away from your house or cover something. Or you can put flashing on your deck. No one's asking you to replace your entire redwood deck. So there's a lot of easy things people can do to be safer and create that defensible space. And Firewise is a way just to organize and help each other do that. In addition, yes, you should be getting a discount as well. That's another incentive. And when we all pull together across the valley too, the more Firewise, the better. Across SLV, we're a very unique community. The more we pull together, the more weight we have to advocate for more insurance discounts. And of course, work with all the fire districts and first responders and CERT and others to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And it's very encouraging when you have a close-knit community. I can just tell you, when we show up and everybody pitches in and loads up a dump trailer and everybody works together, it's really encouraging. It's fun if everybody does it together.
Kind of goes back to that camaraderie of a volunteer fire department, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I want to really attack that myth. You'll look in the LAFCO report, it says volunteerism across the country has just gone down over years. This isn't just a Felton Fire challenge. I want to turn volunteerism around. Because everybody can contribute a skill. Everyone thinks, well, if I volunteer to help with defensible space, I'm going to have to get out on a hill and it's going to be high. It's like, even if you're physically not capable, everyone is whether they're good at business relations, social media, you can cook, you can bring potluck things there too. Whatever skill you have, you can contribute something. And if everybody does a little, no one's asking you to devote 20, 40, 60 hours a month. If everyone devoted just a little bit on a regular basis, it would be easy for the community to get safer.
And make a big difference.
And the
One
other big
thing
myth too
can
is,
make
well,
a
if there's
big
another
difference.
CZU fire, it's overwhelming and there's nothing you can do but leave. It's like defensible space means defensible space, right? So it's not all doom and gloom. It's actually, as the brochure says, be prepared, not scared. So
Yeah, that's right. And, the more people that do work together and reduce fire hazard around their homes, fire knows no boundaries. And those ember storms are what cause the spot fires. And if there are larger areas of safer risk reduction, then everybody benefits.
One last myth to bust. It's like,
Okay.
You'll hear people say, well, I don't live in the woods, right? I'm good. So if you look at what happened in Los Angeles, beach homes burned. That's the ember storm you mentioned there too. So there's still defensible things you can do.
Santa Rosa was another one. Yeah. Those firestorms. Well, we've got about 20 minutes. So I really want to thank you for coming to the studio and for all that you're doing to involve the community of Felton and beyond, because what happens in Felton happens other places too. And now let's talk a little bit, if it's all right. There were two questions I had. You've got all these volunteers coming. Do they all live in Felton?
Excuse me. No, presently, no. I would say roughly anywhere, we fluctuate a little bit, anywhere between a third and a half live within our fire district, or what I would deem close enough to respond to a call. Maybe they're on the Felton side of Scotts Valley or something like that. But I've got a substantial number of firefighters who respond from places as far away as Aptos, the west side Santa Cruz. And again, going to a shift-based model has allowed them to participate. It's opened up the ability for us to recruit from greater distances, as well as allow them to pick and choose their availability. Back when I became a volunteer firefighter, we always carried a pager, and it was just luck of the draw. And inevitably, the tones, as we call them, would always go off at the most inopportune time. And you'd get in your vehicle and you'd drive down to the station and you'd go answer the call. Well, we're alleviating half of that reflex time. And we're also making it more convenient for them. They can look at a calendar. We plan out roughly 30 days in advance. They can say, on the 16th, I'm going to work the night shift, or on the 14th, I'm taking day shift, and they can put that on their calendar. They can plan for it, and then they're there, and we've got them. Additionally, I find that they'll sign up for their shift work, but because of the present camaraderie that we have and just the atmosphere, they're coming in on their time off. They're just there to hang out. They're just, hey, Chief, what can I do to help?
Nice.
Hey, I was wondering, can I take this on as a special project? Absolutely. Those sorts of things. So it's it hasn't been a detractor for us to hire from outside the district.
That's excellent. You're a good leader. You're a good leader.
Try to be. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, here. I second that.
Let's talk a little bit about this LAFCO report a little bit more, because it does recommend consolidations with other districts. And I know that your board had some ad hoc committees that looked at those possibilities. Mr. Anderson, what do you want to tell us about that?
Well, we have looked at it, and we're going to continue to look at it. At the last board meeting, well, maybe to back up, one of the issues that wasn't really addressed in the LAFCO report was our call volume. It talked about other districts picking up our calls when we couldn't make them and stuff. But if you think about the 900 calls a year that we get, if we did half of them, that means that the other department would have to pick them up. And the bottom line is, it appears that none of them have the staffing to really absorb that kind of call volume. And then you have response times and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much why one of the reasons we didn't look at it as a primary thing. We've chosen to try to go forward with the standalone option, but at the same time, we're formulating communications with these other departments to see other options should we not be able to move forward with this. It's similar to what Paro Valley Fire is doing now. They had signed to dissolve their district and go with CSA 48, which is County Fire's thing, which is staffed by CAL FIRE.
And volunteers.
And volunteers. And they have been staffed with CAL FIRE for quite a few years, and their recent ballot measure didn't pass. And so they had to go from 3-0 staffing, which just means 3 people on the engine, to 2 people for money reasons. And so now I believe they're going to try to do 2 things concurrently. And one is to get another parcel tax of some sort that's more uniform and not the other way they did it. Some people had to pay so much more, and those people were agricultural people in different venues and didn't feel that was fair, and so they didn't go for that. The feedback that they got was that if it was a flat fee, more or less, that they would go for it. So they're going to try that again to see if they can avoid having to go with CSA 48.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the same venue that we're following, as was delineated by Director Winters and Chief Blum. If we can get the budget part settled, we can pretty adequately move forward with what we're doing and be sustainable for the near future, probably 5 to 7 years, based on the call volumes changing. And as he said, we're subject to the volumes of the visitors to the park. And so for one instance is when Big Basin burned through the CZU fire, they closed Big Basin. And so one of the other options was to visit Henry Cowell. So since then, I know, because I'm part of the Mountain Parks Foundation, which is a 50c3 that does fundraising for interpretive and educational stuff for the state parks, has seen a great increase because they run the store there, and so there's a lot more visitors and so forth and so on. So, these events like a fire and stuff can change the landscape in a lot of ways, and one of ours was that we get a lot more call volume. And social media has made Garden of Eden a little more popular, and so we're dragging more people there for that. So, but I think that's moving forward with all indications that we've had. We have the skills for the financial part and stuff. We just need to reach out to the public and get their opinion on what they decide they want to do.
Yeah.
I could, excuse me, if I could say something real quick in regards to the LAFCO report. It does a very good job outlining a roadmap for success for Felton. It addresses the fact that essentially our call volume is such that we're overworked, we're underfunded, and we have lacked good leadership in the last few years, right? Those are basically what it's identifying. What it doesn't identify in a consolidation is the fact that all those things still have to be addressed.
Right.
And that was my recommendation to the board when I met with these ad hoc committees. I said the one thing that a consolidation or dissolution doesn't address is any of those items that LAFCO has addressed to us that need to be addressed to provide these services to the community. We're essentially kicking the can down the road if we were to consolidate, in my personal opinion, because now we've got that consolidation time that's going to take, and now we've got a reflex time to where we need to figure out this next agency is going to have to figure out how to staff it, how to fund it, right?
Yeah.
Assuming good leadership. So to be as quick as we can to the community. I think, a standalone option provided, obviously with this roadmap, a successful model.
Yeah.
And that was my one, again, I think Joe Serrano did an amazing job with the report. But that was my one critique, is that it gives us a very good roadmap to go to, and it holds us to a standard. But when you do an apples to apples comparison amongst all of the options within there, it doesn't hold them to that same standard.
No,
And
I agree
so
with you.
by de facto, they're going to continue to inherit these same problems that we're presently facing.
Yeah. And County Fire Department, CSA 48, I think has a lot of the same problems, and it's also in the process of being on LAFCO's radar for reorganization to become an independent fire district. Right now, it's the County Board of Supervisors that acts as our board. And as a member of CSA 48, I'm telling you, I'm not happy with their leadership. They really don't care. That's the impression I get. And to put county fire budget on the consent agenda at budget time, I don't think so. So, joining up, as you say, the other agencies have problems too. And thinking a little bit about County Fire's CSA 48 financials, they have two assessments. One is 2 times a fire flow unit, which adds up to be almost $200. And then there's the more recent one that actually taxes the land and the structures, similar to what the Pajaro Valley Fire people voted down. And it's expensive, very expensive, and I don't know that it's legally defensible either. But, for example, storage is taxed at over $1,000 an acre. And if you have an office space, and this is plus the structure, that is, I think it's $150 per structure. Office space is $175 per acre. Commercial land is $678 per acre, in addition to the structures. Agricultural land is $6 per acre. So, it's not the easy way out. And I really commend you for going to the Felton community and laying the facts on the table. Like you say, Mr. Serrano did a good job with this Felton Fire Protection District report. Tell us a little bit where we can find it, if people want to read it.
It's available on the Felton website, as well as the LAFCO website from Santa Cruz. It's searchable. There's a lot of good information. I'll just say, don't be overwhelmed by it all. The first 37 pages are really what you need to look at.
Yes.
And the graphs do a lot of good. And there, again, it's just comparing an apples to apples comparison. That would be the one takeaway that I have, or thing that I wish people would look at. But again, I think he did an outstanding job on it, and the numbers at face value seem to work out, as well as his suggestions, as far as staffing models and things like that. So, and again, it does point out 12 different options. The reality is much less. I've received informal communications from several different fire departments and districts who have requested to not be part of that process, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And one of the things we did undertake quite some months ago, but we've finished as of late, is to revamp our website to make it more user-friendly. And it's a work in progress that we're always trying to improve that with the addition of statistics and stuff, and making it easier for the public to find it. So they get a better picture of the day-to-day operations and where we are.
Yeah. I think I found this document today on your website under
I believe
documents or
documents
news.
and news and events. I think
Yes.
I'll get you to both of them.
Yeah. It's very good. Good. When is the next Felton Fire Board meeting?
September 1st. We're
Yeah.
right now we're having meetings every 2 weeks, given
Excellent.
the work that we have to do in a short period of time. So the next one, it is Labor Day, but we wanted to stick to our every bi-weekly schedule, so it'll be Monday, September 1st.
Monday evening?
At 6. Sorry,
At
good
6.
point. Yeah, the Friday meeting you mentioned in the morning was anomaly due to scheduling, but normally the meetings are at 6 p.m. on Mondays.
Yeah, excellent. And I want to say that I felt very welcome at your board meeting, and I appreciated that you were so respectful and inclusive of the public at your meeting. It's really very refreshing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also there's this LAFCO meeting coming up also the first Wednesday of September. Are you going to be there? I know you will,
I
Mr.
be, and
Anderson.
it will, just for people listening, it will be at the Watsonville City Council chambers. Occasionally we meet at other locations. This one happens to be because of some renovations that are taking place at the Santa Cruz Supervisors Chamber, which is where we usually meet the first Wednesday of every month.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's also a remote option for those
Remote
meetings
options,
too.
yes. Mm-hmm.
And that will happen also with the meeting being at the Watsonville
Yes,
City
Watsonville
Council.
City Council.
Okay, excellent, excellent. We are down to 5 minutes. Our time has flown by. Chief Blum, what do you want to say most to the people listening?
Well, to the community of Felton is who I'd really like to address, and I guess above all else, I want to hear what they have to say. I want to know what their opinions are. I want to know when we're meeting their expectations, and of course, I want to know when we fail to meet those expectations. I'm also going to ask for their support. They support my firefighters, no matter what their decision is. I feel honored to be in the position I'm in right now. And I think, again, like I said, I think we're really trending in a good direction. I think we've got a good plan, but it's a two-way street, and we need that community engagement. We need that involvement. And again, I want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, and the firefighters too. There's a lot of talk in this report about CalPERS and maybe opting out and things like that. So I'm sure that would be part of the discussions coming forward as well.
Yeah, excuse me. The district did vote to start to remove us from CalPERS. We are presently at a spot where we need to decide on funding. For a small district such as us and many other agencies throughout the state, they're finding that it's just not sustainable.
To stay in CalPERS.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ben Lomond is out of it.
Ben Lomond and Zayani are both out of it. Boulder Creek is still presently in it. Just rough numbers for admin side of things. I have to budget 27% of all salaries on top of basically just to sustain CalPERS. When you add that up over multiple employees, it just becomes cost prohibitive to continue to stay within it, as well as performance issues in the past.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Mr. Winters, what would you like to most tell the listeners, especially those in Felton?
I strongly agree with the chief. I think they play a very large role in this. We're all here in service of the community, and we want the decision on the roadmap and the way forward to be a community-based decision. So this isn't a vacuum. We want to have greater transparency and much deeper and more frequent engagement with the community. And the vision is to revive the Felton Fire Department to be the role model in the country for a rural fire department in terms of performance and community pride and everything else that goes along with that.
Thank you. How about you, Mr. Anderson?
Well, if I could say one thing is reiterate to it, we need the public's input, and for the public not to believe everything that they see and hear on social media. Come to the source and ask one of the board of directors or the chief, or just come to our meetings and see the operation. And you'll see that it's different than maybe sometimes has been portrayed.
Thank you. In our last couple of minutes here, how will this culminate with a public decision? Will it be a vote of some kind, financial thing? How do you see that, Chief Blum?
Yeah, it's going to have to. We're at a spot, district presently, where we have to put an initiative in front of the people, right? They have to decide, yes, they're going to choose to have this parcel tax, or no, they're not. We're hoping to put that forth as soon as possible without rushing it. So obviously the final decision and all of the decisions need to come from the board, but obviously I'm working to support them in whatever they need.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We're at our last 30 seconds. I want to thank you, Chief Blum, Mr. Winters, Mr. Anderson, for coming into the studio and for your good work in the Felton community fire protection.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and attend the Felton Fire Board meetings and attend the LAFCO meeting, Watsonville City Council, first Wednesday of next month. Thank you all for your good service. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. And we are off the air. Thank you
That was great. Thanks.
Yeah.